Hello, hello, hello. We are back and we are here to talk about a very important topic, which is healing. And not just healing, but healing not in the physical sense, but healing in the spiritual, mental, emotional body. And we want to talk about what does it mean to heal? Like, and is it possible to be 100% healed? In other words, we are going to begin to break down what it means when someone is healed. Now, I
Mhm.
like to tell people that it is possible to heal. We already know that the body is programmed to heal. Like I broke my wrist a couple of years ago, and I still can use it. My body healed itself. I didn't have any pins putting this bone to put it back together. So I tell my clients that they can heal from their emotional pain as well and the spiritual hurt. However, they have to be willing to do the work. Now, what I'm beginning to look at is it possible to be 100% healed? And Dr. LaMarr has a very interesting concept about being healed 100%. So go ahead and share what you think about this concept of being healed 100%.
Okay, so first off, I absolutely love the analogy that you gave about your wrist. And you're right, the body does heal itself, but it will forever be a trigger, right? Remember, I said triggers are about you, it has nothing to do with the other person. And so it will forever be a trigger. So even though your bones connected back and you didn't need a pin, when it rained, it may aches. Or if you make a mistake and fall on it, you may re-injure it or you may hurt it a little more. And so has it, and I consider that to be not healed ed but healing, and there's this continual process that happens. Now, can you use it? Absolutely. Is it causing you any issues? Absolutely not. But can it easily be triggered? Maybe so. And that's just kind of how I see and understand healing, and it goes right into those attachments. I talk a lot about secure
Well,
attach. Oh, I'm sorry.
hold on before you jump into attachment. I think that's very interesting. I want to point stay on this trigger part
Okay.
because there's this thing that I also let clients that I say to clients, if you spot it, you got it. In other words, if something is upsetting you and another person is your stuff, if you spot it but it doesn't bother you, it's still your stuff, but you done dealt with it, you done healed it. And if you don't see it, then it's not your stuff. Somebody else can point something out to you about someone or something, and you go, I don't see that. I haven't had that experience. That's because that's not your stuff. So to so yeah, if you are still being triggered, I would say you haven't really healed. You've begun the journey toward healing. But healing to me says that I see it, but it no longer upsets me. Like I can be with it. I'm not uncomfortable around it. I can recognize it for what it is and go, oh, okay, that's what that is. And I'm not agitated, frustrated, annoyed, bothered by it. That's I just wanted to throw that in. What do you think about that
I
part?
love it. And I think this is where I would have to say that I respectfully agree to disagree. And and I say this because you can be triggered by something and it not take you to 10. I think the way that you know that you're getting higher in your healing gauge is how it impacts you, right? I'll give an example. There are some things that I've experienced in my marriage, right? That I have really worked through, but it can still be a sore spot, in the way that we communicate. It can still be a sore spot. But does it have me distraught like maybe it used to, or does it have me in a way with feeling like I want to be petty Betty? No, it does not. And that's what I mean. And let's say, for instance, and again, I don't want to, because I know it sounds very, it can seem very hurtful and disrespectful to tell somebody that they have not healed when they've done a lot of work. It's just like, wait a minute, you're not going to tell me because I don't. And so I don't want to negate the fact. So when I say healed, I prefer using healing, and I prefer, remember, because I said it's cyclical, it's not linear. So you don't go from 1 to 100 or 1 to 50. It's this cyclical thing. So you may have started here and then you got here, something triggered it, and it took you right back around it, because I believe that people come to us to reveal our strengths. the things that we're working on, the things that we need to work on. And so that's why I say, and I'm going to say this and be done. I think when it comes to healing, I think there's three parts to healing. I do. I think there's things that we don't even know we need to heal. There's things that we've really, really worked on, which could be considered the heal, but healing, and then things that we're actively working on. And so that's just my thought. And this is another thing. I feel like when people say I've healed ED, and then they're triggered and they like right back at the bottom floor, like, oh my gosh, I thought it was over. I thought it would never bother me. I thought I would never be hurt or impacted. And that's just not how healing works. Whereas you could have worked on it and it could be like a 2 instead of a 10. And then you're triggered by, and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm not crying. Oh my gosh, I knew how to go get support when I needed. I knew to reach out to my therapist. So that's just my understanding of healing.
So I want to talk about when you said it's cyclical, because I like that in that it's not linear. They're, once again, like this onion. When I think about healing, there are layers to it. And I think the more you've done the work, the less layered it is. But I like to refer to them as crumbs. There could still be some crumbs. That's one of the reasons why I like EMDR, because EMDR says there was an event that happened, and from that event, it caused you to come up with a negative statement about yourself, a negative belief that you then went out into the world. And sometimes that became your core belief, like I'm unlovable or I'm not enough. And so then you look for, or people will leave you. And so then you begin to draw to you those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And when you begin to turn around and address and actually look and heal those things. And I remember being one of those individuals, like, I can't believe I'm still dealing with this same thing. Like, I thought I was healed from it, versus I had to begin to realize that it's multi-layered.
Right.
And that they're more, it's and that was the thing, because I'm like, I'm tired of looking at this. Right, that's cyclical. But each time I came back, I wasn't at the same layer. I had gone deeper. I had pulled back another layer. And in the beginning, it was really huge. And then it began to dwindle down, where I wasn't at a 10. Or more importantly for me, I could process it. I could see it. I can say, okay, what is this reminding me of? Or another thing that I like is a narrative. What is the story that I'm telling myself? Right. And I've even taught this to my husband now. So he goes, that's the story that you're telling yourself? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess so. But it's about me recognizing that as a child, I created a story about what happened, which helped me to survive what happened, but it no longer serves me. Now it's undistinguished until I began to look at it and distinguish it. So that's what I think healing is all about. Like, I agree with you. It is cyclical, and that you can begin to work on things. But I still, and this is where we are going to agree to disagree, I do believe that you can disappear stuff based upon the different things that I've begun to use in my practice, such as EMDR or EFIT, because it goes back to integrating. I have to integrate some of these experiences. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
What you gotta say?
First of all, let me just say, I get so excited, like, when we talk about this type of stuff, because I think it's so important. And I think this conversation is so important for people to understand. And you just said it. That's why I say it is healing, because it's cyclical. It doesn't go away. Like, if you're triggered, then it shows up. It's just not as emotionally provoking. If there are crumbs, that means it's still there. If you are triggered, but you're able to process, that means that it's still there. And this is the thing. And it goes back to, we were talking about the forgiving in the other one. You can forgive and not reconciliate, right? There's no reconciliation. You can be healing and not still have this visceral reaction in your body when something happened, but it's still there. And it is a reminder to keep you safe. And so I want to say this to all the people that's done some healing work. I don't want to be dismissive, and I don't want to say, that you can't do the work to be in a better place. But what I believe is, things that we've been impacted by significantly, we've been traumatized by, I think will forever be a chapter in our book. Now, what that chapter look like, if it's a horror story, if it's a a story of chaos, you get to reauthor. If it was a horror story, now you've shifted it, and now it's a story where it's more manageable, and you can talk about it and you can share it to help other people. If we disappear all the things we've experienced, and I think about love, if we disappear all the hurt we've experienced, we don't even have a gauge to be able to teach people or to work with people or to have a level of compassion to support people to say, "Ooh, I remember how that used to feel when I dot, dot, dot." And so again, I think we're saying the same thing. I want to be clear when I say that. I think we're saying the same thing. I just think when you look at forgiveness, if you think when you forgive somebody, everything should go away and you should no longer be angry or have any emotions toward it, then you setting yourself up for failure. I believe if you look at healing as this thing that you had and now it's gone, like, oh my gosh, where did it go? I think you're setting yourself up, because guess what? You're doing the work. You've gotten the emotion down, I'll say to a 2, or you've gotten only 2 or 3 breadcrumbs. You can't even get full off those crumbs that you see. When you see it in that way, it's like it'll always be there, right? Because that is a part of who we are. It'll always be there. It just won't be that driving force and trigger us to negative emotions and stuff like that. So those are just my thoughts.
Well, that's interesting. And I would love for you, the audience, to comment and share with us. What are your thoughts on healing? Do you, it's not so much as taking sides, but
Right.
what has been your experience? Have you experienced having a hurt and then doing the work and healing, or being healed, in that it no longer occurs for you? It don't, and is no longer a part of your experience. There's a book that I read, which the title of the book is "What Happened to You," and one of the things that I let my clients know, I cannot. Oh yeah, well that's it. Didn't start with you. That's another good one as well. I'm reading that one currently.
Oh, Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
so the thing that I tell my clients is I cannot eliminate the what happened, because it happened. I
Right.
can't go back. We can't go back. At least I don't know about a time machine right now. So we can't go back and undo the what happened. But what we can do is change how you feel about it. We can change the story that you created to help you survive it. We can change the response, which is what you're talking about. And that's a part of the healing process as well, because the story that we talk about can disempower us. And when you feel disempowered, you're left with in this space, in this place of not feeling good, not feeling unlovable, or having that thought of I'm unlovable because this happened to me. They can't possibly have loved me, or whatever that belief is that you came up with. So that's a part of healing. But please comment, share with us, because we're really curious and knowing what has been your experience around this topic of healing, because we can go on all day around just this one topic.
Right. I wanna jump in, and I told you I do a lot of work with couples where betrayal has been at the forefront of the relationship. And when I'm working with some couples who've experienced infidelity, and sometimes as men, sometimes as women, the question is, will I ever be my old self? And this is the kicker: you will never be your old self, and you don't want to be your old self. Your old self missed some things. And so that's what I mean when I'm talking about this healing, right? And so when I'm working with couples and they've experienced infidelity, moving forward, you have now created, you don't have to let it, drive you, like, where you going, what you doing, let me see you. You may, but you may not. But you will always be cognizant of it is possible. And this is what I need for me in order to feel safe. This is what I would like to establish. And that doesn't mean you hadn't worked on it. You're not as mad as you used to be. You're not as hurt. You don't want to go do, like, what's the girl? I bust your windows out your car. You don't want to bust windows out the car. I'm just saying, don't condone that. Just singing a song, right?
That's
But
a
you're no longer
of America.
When you used to cry or get really angry, it's no longer there. Doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, right? To me, that is healing. That is that force where you've worked on it. It doesn't hurt as bad. You don't feel as like you want to shut down. And that's what I mean. But it will be with you. Say you don't work out in that marriage, you get with another person. That experience will still be with you. And I feel like those experience are those things that keep us safe. We talked about this on one of the previous podcasts about boundaries. That is how you create your boundaries from things that worked and did not work. But again, that's my idea of healing.
Yeah, and I like that. Excuse me. I like that when you talk about um, infidelity, which is another topic that we will have to I'll do on our podcast. But it's about I've been hurt
Mhm.
and I want to go back to how I was, but no, the pain, the experience will grow you. And that's what experiences are about, is growing us and helping us to move forward and to express our highest good and our greatest joy versus staying in this old place that maybe doesn't really serve us. So this has been an awesome topic. I know we just began to touch it a little bit, but that's what these conversations are all about, just to begin to help you move toward knowing and growing. I am JaiDei Jackson. Thank you for showing up today. And my wonderful guest.
Natasha LaMarr, thank you. This has been great. I think we need to do a podcast on the steps of forgiveness and or healing, because there are steps. But thank
Absolutely.
you for having me.
Yeah, so like, share, and comment.